you messaged me and you have some of the
Mhm.
wildest dreams that I've ever heard of in my life. That's saying something for a dream interpreter. So they're not necessarily bad, and they're not necessarily like, oh my gosh, like Renee is so crazy. It's just like you have a very unique experience with your dreams. And so I was really excited to be able to talk with you more about it, because it was so interesting that it didn't really come across to the full effect over like text message. So I wanted to interview about it.
Mhm.
And I wonder, please,
Mhm.
if you're watching this, please leave a comment below if you've experienced something similar to this, because I think it's very unique and I have heard of it before, but you experience it very intensely. So Renee, thank
Yes.
you for being here. I'll let you take it away. Can you tell us a little bit
Hi.
about your dreams and kind of how they are?
Right. So the topic we were talking is how I regularly will wake up from a dream and still see the dream continuing in my bedroom,
Yeah.
like a hallucination overlapping my actual bedroom. And sometimes it's just weird and sometimes it's terrifying. There have been times where I've seen people in the house, bugs crawling out of the wall, demons in the bedroom. It's pretty intense and it takes a few seconds, if not minutes, to disappear. So it's been happening since I was a little kid. At first, I think I sent you a picture of what it was like waking up as an 8-year-old with my entire bedroom full of spiders.
This is the picture that you're referencing, yeah?
Yeah,
And
that was
so
like the earliest one I could remember.
And so, can you tell me what you saw, like what that was like?
I don't think you have most of the types of spiders I saw in America.
Okay.
They were very Australian spiders, but that was probably the closest thing that AI, because I was typing in redback spiders, which I guess are very similar to black widows overseas.
Okay, sure, yeah.
Some of them were the size of basketballs and like small cats,
And so they
and they crawling on the bed, crawling on my desk. I had a bunk bed with my sister when I was a kid, so like coming down into my bed from the bunk bed, and yeah, it took me a hot minute before they started to sort of fade away like a ghost in the night. But by that point your heart rate's so elevated that you can't go back to sleep for ages. So I suffered chronic insomnia quite a lot as a child.
Yeah. So was this happening in the middle of the night? Was this happening when you woke up, when you fell asleep? Or was there no consistency
Uh,
about the time?
Predominantly between midnight and 3 a.m. I'd probably estimate most of the times this happens. So
Mm.
I would go to bed when I was a child, I'd be going to bed between like 8 and 9, maybe. Like we would be sent to bed early, but we were allowed to sit up and chat and
Yeah.
read and do whatnot. But I'd be going to sleep around 9. So I'd probably be 3 or 4 hours into REM sleep. And then it would be disturbed, and then I would sit up and continue to see the dream, and then I'd be awake for another hour or two, just unable, just
Yeah, because
restlessly tossing.
it's terrifying. So
Yeah,
let
absolutely
me
terrifying.
clarify what you said. You said that you would wake up and the dream would continue. Was there continuity
Mm.
between what you were dreaming with your eyes closed and then what you would see when your eyes opened? Or was this a whole new start?
Not always, not always. Sometimes it
Okay.
would be completely different, nothing to do with what I was dreaming prior.
Mm.
Sometimes it would carry on. I was fighting. I think the Portal one happened the week that I started watching The Witcher, so there was a lot of visuals happening where people were using portals, and I think my brain was processing the episode, so I was dreaming that I was one of the what are the mages, and people were trying to get into my bedroom. So then I sat up and I saw them, and then I woke up because my body was doing these spells with my arms, and the physical movement of that sleepwalking woke me up, and then I was like,
Whoa.
oh, not real.
Not real.
So acting out.
So this is kind of what it looked like. Like it looked like there were people coming through the walls through portals in this particular
Yeah.
dream.
Yeah.
Whoa. Whoa. So the only way, and I know we talked about this briefly, like when we spoke over text message, but the only thing that I'm familiar with on this topic is the hypnagogic or hypnopompic hallucinations that happen with sleep paralysis.
Yeah.
right? And so my first question, I think, that I asked you was, were you paralyzed when this was taking place? And you said you weren't?
No, I have full mobility. I can get up, walk, talk, participate in the dream. I have no problem moving at all. So when I have described it throughout the years before I ever discovered your channel, I would be telling my friends about this and they would share similar things, but they would all be describing what you said: immobilized, frozen, having people in the room or sitting on their chest and absolutely paralyzed, so couldn't do anything about it. And so whilst they understood to some degree what I was visually seeing, I was able to still protect myself, defend myself, and act out these dreams. So I had some form of control, which was significantly better than being stuck while something's trying to eat your face, which is something one of my sisters has experienced.
So your sister experiences the paralysis, but you don't
Yeah.
experience the paralysis. Have you ever experienced the paralysis?
Two of my sisters have actually, I have 4 sisters, so 2 of my sisters experience the paralysis.
Okay. Have you ever experienced it?
No, I'm always able to move.
Always able
I
to move.
move too much. Usually it's the movement of my body that wakes me up. And I realize that I'm sleepwalking with my eyes open.
Well, because you even mentioned that in today's dream share group that you had one of those where your
Yeah.
arm moved and it woke you up, like in your sleep.
Yeah, because I was sewing and I pricked my finger and I went, ow, and my arm flailing woke me up. And then I was like, huh?
Yeah, yeah. Wow, this is so interesting. Because the combination of seeing things from a dream, like dreamlike images, while you're still able to maintain movement, is very unique. And I wonder if that relates to kind of the sleepwalking, because my mind is trying to process a
Mm.
couple things, right? It's like, okay, hallucinations with your eyes open while your brain is still in a sleep state makes sense to me. That's been
Hmm.
like
Yeah.
shown and researched and proven, right? But the part that's interesting is your ability to move. Because usually there's a mind body disconnect that happens where your mind disconnects from your body. So you cannot move while you are experiencing those dream hallucinations. But because of your
Yeah.
sleepwalking, you're able to
Yeah.
maintain the movement and have your eyes
Yeah.
open and see all you're in like an altered plane of reality. I think the spiritual community would
Yeah.
say you are experiencing like the upside down from, Stranger Things, or an alternate plane
I
that's in the same dimension.
I have a lot of spiritual friends in the community who think that I'm definitely in some different plane. Not all of them. Some of them are
Mm.
just dreams of processing things that I've experienced or what I've visually watched. Like I said, I truly believe the portals was just because I had started chain watching The Witcher that week, and there were heaps of scenes where portals and people were escaping through that. So I think I was just pretty much living a dream fantasy world, and then I just happened to wake up and the dream continued. And
Okay.
sort of like I had no emotional connection to that other than, oh, I was currently fighting warlocks and now I'm back in the real world, but I'm
Yeah.
already up and out of bed. Whereas I've had some times where I've seen people in my dreams who are walking through my house. I've definitely frightened people who were dating me by sitting up and in the middle of the night and screaming that there is a man in the kitchen looking out the window. And I see him like a proper full man. Yeah.
That would be this one, right?
Yeah. So I wrote to the AI, just put 2 people in there, but it's meant to be like I woke up and saw a man in my house staring out the window.
Wow.
So ignore the lady in the corner. I've seen versions of her other times, but the AI was struggling to sort of create exactly what I saw. But I was pretty close to it. But seeing like a full guy just standing there staring at the window.
Yeah.
He wasn't menacing or anything, but it was just the fact that I could
Just
see
standing there.
this full-blown person there.
Mm. And so you're saying that your kind of understanding of this, you really think this is dream related, not so much spiritual related. Just your personal
I do have
opinion.
spiritual dreams where I've definitely had people that I care about quite a lot visit me in my dreams, and then I message them the next day and they were thinking of me or they did have that particular thing happen. So I do have that sort of thing. But I don't necessarily believe that when I wake up from a dream and I hallucinate what's in my room that it's anything particularly spiritual. I think maybe there's just something that's not produced in my brain that keeps me laying down.
Yeah. Do you notice that there's any kind of like relationship between these experiences that you have and the emotions that you're having? Like, does it happen more when you're stressed or more when you're happy?
Definitely.
Tell me a little bit
It
about
happens
that.
predominantly when I'm stressed. Like I
Okay.
can definitely feel it more when I've got stress. Maybe my body's just sort of pumping. But I've been sleepwalking and talking since I was a very small child. My parents will tell you that they've had to put me back to bed many times because I've tried to leave the house with my eyes open, so they didn't realize I was sleepwalking.
Yeah.
I've tried to like leave the house and go down the street and having full conversations with them, and then they've had to like, all right, she's not really awake, and push me back to sleep.
Hmm.
But when I first started at the company that I'm at now, where I was doing laser hair removal
Yeah.
and getting into that, the first year of that, I would wake up my partner at the time by lasering him. Like I was dreaming that I was at work and I was doing treatments on him. And he would wake up and he's like, "What are you doing?" And I would just say, "Oh, I've already done that part. Sorry, turn over." And yeah, talking to him, acting out a full dream.
I love it. How do
Yeah.
those, like, have your partners or your parents ever told you like how they recognize your sleepwalking? Because it sounds so similar to, like, especially if you're a kid like trying to walk out the front door. Like it sounds so similar to
Yeah.
what you might do in your waking life. Like how are they able to tell?
Well, one time they weren't able to tell, and I was, oh, how old would I have been? We're at Ringer Street. So I would have been 12 or 13, maybe. The next morning, my stepmother was like, "What was your problem last night?" Because she didn't realize that I had not been awake. Because apparently I had come out aggressively and into everybody's bedroom and hall, turned on everybody's light, and like stormed down the hall, turning on everybody's light, and then coming back, turning them all off and storming back to bed.
I love
And
Sleep You so much. It's hilarious.
so I would have been a child, well, a tween. And yeah, and she didn't know that I wasn't sleepwalking or anything. She didn't know that I wasn't awake. And so the next morning she inquired. She's like, "What was that all about?" And I was like, "Huh?" And because I had experienced sleepwalking before, that they had identified my genuine face of confusion was enough for her to go, "Oh, this is one of your episodes again. Okay."
So they really have to kind of be intuitive about some strange behavior
Yeah.
or something that's off to kind of signal to them that
Yeah.
you're not really participating in the tangible waking world. You're in dream world.
Yeah.
Wow, that's so interesting. So, this seems to happen more when you're stressed, and even the one that was like these portals. I mean, because this seems, you mentioned this as if it was almost like a positive dream. So, was this happening when you're stressed, or was
Well,
this not a positive dream actually?
I don't think I was particularly stressed at the time. Maybe my nervous system watching a bunch of action packed TV right before bed
Yeah.
might have stimulated my brain a little bit too much. But I was one of the characters, even though I was in the dream, stopping people trying to come into my room.
Mm.
I was 100% in control, in power. And as soon as I sat up, I was able to close both portals in my dream. And so they weren't able to break through. So I was very powerful
Yeah.
just because experiencing things that were trying to get to me. I was very powerful and able to block it. And I woke up going, oh yeah, that was a dream. But I was already sitting upright with my arms doing these like spell moves.
Love that.
Yeah. And so that was what woke me up. But I've also woken up before and I've been romantically involved with my partner. This is
Sure.
like many years ago. I woke up thinking I was having a different kind of dream and I woke up entangled. And so I've had a partner before not know that I was not awake during times that we were intimate and I
Yeah.
was engaging in that. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I've heard of that one before. Like, kind of sleepwalking, but
Yeah.
it's sleep intimacy. I've definitely
Yeah.
heard of
So I've
this.
had that.
Yeah.
I've only had that with very, very long-term committed relationships where we've been living together. So yeah, so obviously there's an element of comfortability, but
Yeah, and just to kind of put that out there, like a lot of people, I have told some people about this, and then they become very paranoid that they're going to have sleep intimacy with somebody that they're, you know, I had one individual, like and actually a
mm,
family member of mine, who became paranoid after I told them a little bit about sleep intimacy and that that's something that can happen to individuals. And so they became paranoid that they were going to try and engage in some kind of intimate romantic encounter while they're at a friend's sleepover. I was like, no. That usually doesn't happen that way. Like you're saying, it's with somebody committed, like somebody you're already feeling romantic connection for. So it's like you're already in that moment. So not to put fear in anybody's brain, I wouldn't be worried about that. But yes, if you're feeling, long-term committed partner, you're already feeling open and, passionate about them, you can be in a romantic dream with them or any kind of romantic dream and be acting those things out in the waking world. Right?
That's happened to me.
Okay. That compares, and that's also your experience.
I had the fear though. When I was a kid, I didn't have sleepovers until I was in my mid-teenage years. But when I did, my biggest fear was, oh my God, I'm going to sleepwalk and freak out my friends because I do that at home. And the first sleepover I ever had, I did sleepwalk. And that was probably because my brain wasn't used to being in that environment. Maybe it was a slight bit of that. But it wasn't like I did anything crazy. Apparently, I just got out of my friend's bed and I walked down the hall and her mum was watching TV on the couch. And she's like, hey. And I didn't really say anything. I just sort of sat beside her and then I kind of went to sleep beside her. And I don't remember any of this. I just woke up on the couch with a blanket put over me. And I was like, this isn't where I went to sleep. And she's like, oh, yeah, you just sort of stumbled out half asleep and sat down beside me and then drifted back off to sleep. So just put a blanket on you. It was nothing too crazy. She didn't seem fazed by it. But I was like, oh, no, I can't sleep over anywhere. I'm going to freak out all my friends.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. All right. So let me recap real quick.
Yeah.
You don't experience paralysis. You see things that are not there that are dreamlike.
Yes.
It tends to happen more often when you are stressed, but it may be not stress exclusive.
Yes.
And this has been happening since about 6 years old.
Yeah, I would say the earliest I can remember is around 8, but I remember waking up from nightmares when I was just coming out of kindergarten. So I would have been 4 or 5.
Okay,
I remember having night terrors that woke me up, but I don't remember the hallucinations from back then. The earliest I can remember hallucinating was around age 8.
Around age 8. Okay, so you used to wake up from nightmares 4 or 5, but waking up and hallucinating about 8.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you explain this picture a little bit? I know you sent me.
That was recently.
This was a recent one. Can you tell me a little bit about the story that happened with this? Because this one, I looked at this and I was like, oh my God, this looks rough.
The roly-poly bugs.
Oh, those are roly-poly bugs. Okay.
The AI is not 100% great at making exactly what it is.
They looked scary to me. I was like, these are going to bite me and inject venom. I can tell.
I remember feeling they weren't good, but they weren't going to bite me. I sat up in bed and I saw them on the walls. They weren't as bunched together as that. They were sort of more spanned out. Okay. And one was even on my son's bed, and it was sort of like coming out of the wood, coming out of the wall. And once it was out, it rolled up into the roly-poliness and sort of was rolling. Wow. And so I was very aware they were in my room, and I think I was more annoyed. I remember thinking, I have to get these things now. This is an inconvenient infestation, not necessarily a dangerous one.
Well, and I remember when you told me about this dream, I said, listen, ultimately everybody's dream, everybody who dreams has the ultimate authority on their own dream and what it means. And a dream interpreter just kind of guides you in the right direction. And so I was saying, well, these bugs, there's oftentimes a play on words when it comes to bugs. I ask myself, what is bugging me? What is infesting into my life that I'm annoyed that is there? And so that kind of jived with what you were saying.
It did resonate at the time.
Yeah. Interesting. And then, there was another one that you sent me that was kind of disturbing. This one. Can you tell me a little bit about this story? What was going on here?
So I sat up in bed and there was...
This one is you back here.
No, imagine me in bed.
Oh, you're in bed.
And then
okay.
So imagine me sitting up in bed and a decaying woman with long brunette hair was sitting sort of beside my bed just watching me sleep.
Oof.
Yeah.
That sounds scary. You did. In the waking world, you threw something.
Yeah, at that time I was experiencing them so severely. I used to get them sporadically. And then one time I woke up and I thought I felt a presence in my room. And I didn't see anything that time, but I usually would go, oh, I probably just had a dream. But there's something inside me was like spidey senses alarm. So I got up and I turned on every room in the house, very awake. And I didn't see anything, so I started working my way back to my bedroom, turning the lights off. And at that point, this is years ago, I saw a man leaving my mother's bedroom, and I stared at him at first trying to figure out if this was a hallucination or not.
Right.
And I thought he was carrying shoes, but turns out they were boxing gloves. And as I walked towards my mother's bedroom, he sort of left, and I looked back at my mother's bedroom, and she was still very much asleep laying down. And that's at that point I realized that he was an actual intruder who was robbing us, and I quickly shouted.
Okay. Well, this took a turn.
I'm like, Mom, there's a man in your room, and she leapt up straight away, and I went towards where he went, and he sort of was coming back in, so we were like face to face for a moment, then he fled. We called the police, and they came, and yeah, we had left a back door open, and someone walking past the street on the main road just either knew that we left the back door open, and he just let himself in and was grabbing her boxing gloves, grabbed her car keys. So we locked the gate so he couldn't come back and take the car. My handbag, which had been on the end of my bedpole, was spewed out over the grass. So he had been in my room and taken my bag, and because there wasn't anything of value in it, because at that point I was very paranoid and kept all my money and purse inside my pillow that I slept on, so you would have to lift me up.
Yeah.
At that point in my time, that was what I used to do with my money, and so he would have got nothing from my bag, came back into the house and started taking other things. And that's when I sort of caught him. From that point, I was so stressed that I didn't know the difference between real and hallucination, that I kept a stockpile of things to throw at my hallucinations, where there'd be like remotes, little plastic toys, and just keep them beside me. So if I woke up and I saw something, I'd grab it and just peg it at it. And if it made contact, I told myself that, oh, no, that's real. I have to be into action. Whereas if it didn't make any noticeable thud, I would go, oh, no, dream.
Okay.
And so for like a year or two, that's how I handled my hallucinations.
I mean, you got to improvise,
so I knew
right?
She was a hallucination. I knew she was a hallucination because I think I threw a TV remote at her.
That's great. I've got a friend online on TikTok. He's a big content creator. His name's Schizophrenic Hippie. You ever heard of Schizophrenic Hippie?
No.
Schizophrenic Hippie. Yeah. I'll send you the link to his page. He's a great guy.
Okay.
His name's Cody. Schizophrenic Hippie has schizophrenia. He's a motivational speaker. He's got a great platform that kind of brings awareness to schizophrenia and normalizes it, because a lot of people think that they're monsters and they're not. But it's tough. He currently lives with it and he's coping with it. But he will use his cell phone, and he actually started making TikTok videos because he would record a TikTok video of like camera facing forward of his hallucination and then upload it. And if he saw the hallucination in the TikTok recording, he knew it was real. If the video that he uploaded there was nobody there, he knew that he was seeing a hallucination. And so for him, using his phone camera was enough of a mental disconnect or something that he could tell whether he was seeing a hallucination or he was seeing what was in the waking world. Would that work for you? Have you ever thought about this?
I haven't thought about doing that yet, but then that makes me wonder, there must have been times where he saw something and then still saw it on his phone.
Yes.
Just the way that you...
He's got some funny stories that he's posted on his page, because there were times when he was certain that something was a hallucination. So he walked right up to it. He's got his phone out. He's like recording them right in their face. And the person's like, what are you doing, bro? And then he looks at it. He's like, oh, you're real. And so he's like, oh, I'm so sorry. He felt embarrassed, And so, that absolutely has happened to him.
I guess I could try to do that. I do have my phone reasonably close to me. I probably shouldn't, but I have it on charge beside my bed like most people do.
We all do. Same.
We all do. I probably shouldn't, but I do. So I guess I could start recording and see if anything actually happens, or if something, wouldn't it be wild if someone actually messaged my video and went, oh, no, I see it too. And I didn't write what it was. Wouldn't that be wild?
No, that would be wild. Well, yeah, not that you should or shouldn't. I mean, do what makes sense for you. I was just curious if you ever thought about. I was curious if you thought that might work for you as well, because I know that Cody uses that with his schizophrenia. Not
Yeah.
suggesting you're schizophrenic, but just like with hallucinations, it can be
It
a
does
helpful.
run in my family.
Is that right? Okay, well that
Yeah.
was going to be my next question. It does run in the family. Have you?
There's a plethora of mental illness in my side of the family: sleepwalking, sleep talking, emotional regulation disorders, ADHD.
Sure. Yeah, present in the chat. Right. So, but you've never been diagnosed with schizophrenia. You don't see hallucinations or have the paranoid delusions that would be a hallmark of schizophrenia in the rest of your life. Or
None that
do
I
you?
would admit on camera, Jesse.
Fair enough.
So
it's kind of exclusive to sleep.
I hallucinate only exclusively when I wake up. I don't hallucinate. Hand on heart, I do not hallucinate just if I'm just walking around. Not since, like, obviously many years ago when I did partake in recreational situations.
Sure.
I definitely saw things back in there, but that was in a very altered state. So.
Of course. Yeah, that was chemically attributable.
Yeah, I could definitely see, oh no, that was a particular thing in my system, whereas sober and awake, I don't hallucinate. Do I sometimes get paranoid? Yeah. But I don't feel like I'm schizophrenic, and none of my professionals have noted that. They've noticed neurodivergency and ADHD.
Sure. Okay. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of things that can cause hallucinations. So just to kind of, for those watching this, like just to kind of normalize that, hallucinations can happen for many reasons. One very normal reason is that if you are chronically sleep deprived, you do see hallucinations. Your brain will start to dream, because dreams are so crucial for mental health that if you don't actually go to bed, your brain will start dreaming because it knows that it needs it while your eyes are still open and you're sleep deprived. So,
oh wow,
yeah, if somebody is going through a time of sleep deprivation in their life, they will hallucinate. That's very, very well documented. That's one. Chemicals are another one.
I think that's the times that my brain's been paranoid, and I think it was predominantly when I was sleep deprived.
Well, that would make sense too. Another one is black mold. So if your house has black mold in it, black mold has been very well known to cause hallucinations in those who show no other signs of schizophrenia. And then, like I said, with the sleep paralysis, sleepwalking has been known to have hallucinations too. So like the mind needs to hallucinate. It's just that we usually do that while we are sleeping. But
when you're meant to be immobilized.
Ideally, but for you, that's not your lived experience.
No, I definitely am a very active sleeper, which sometimes contributes to the fact that I don't feel well rested.
Well, Renee, thank you so much for answering these questions. This has been fascinating. Do you have any like closing thoughts or anything else that you want to share before we kind of wrap up here with this interview?
Not really. I didn't realize how rare I was with my sleepwalking with eyes open, because people had been so similar. But when you were explaining in our chat conversations how wild it was for you, someone who's a dream interpreter who studies sleep, for you to see an interest in me going, oh yeah, this is what I experience, and you're like, that is wild. I'm like, is it?
Yeah,
I have nothing to compare it.
It is pretty unique. Now, I wouldn't say that it's never happened before. You're the only case in the world, not like that. But it's like this is pretty unique. And so I was like very excited about the opportunity that you were like, oh yeah, I'd love to talk about this and share my experience.
I'd love to meet more people who can actually act out their dreams. At this point, the only people I know who hallucinate their dreams outside of their dream state have paralysis. And so whilst we have that shared fear of when you see the terrifying things and you hear some terrifying things, it's not quite the same, because they have that additional fear of, I'm locked in, I can't move, I can't protect myself. Whereas I have the ability to go, no, I'm going to investigate, I'm going to see if this isn't real, I'm going to throw things at it, I'm going to like act out my dream. I have a lot more mobility.
Well, so my current hunch, and again, this is not a diagnosis, this is not like what this is, but my thoughts about it are, I think your brain has a very unique combination of things. You have sleepwalking, and then you have the hallucinations that happen with your eyes open, right? Some people sleepwalk with their eyes closed, some people sleepwalk with their eyes open, but you have eyes open and hallucinations, and you're also a very avid lucid dreamer. So when you combine all of those
Mhm.
together, you're able to actively participate in a sleepwalking dream with your eyes open.
Mhm.
So it's kind of like your brain's like the perfect storm of these things coming together to create a very unique experience. And I just think
Mm,
that's wildly fascinating.
thanks.
Yeah.
I'm glad I could share. Hopefully, I'll be able to collect more people like me and we can swap stories.
Yeah, I would love to. So if you have ever experienced something like this, like put it in the comments, hop on into the Discord server and let's chat and like let's talk about it some more and share those experiences. Is there anything you want to shout out for you? Any places that people can find you or self-promotion moment
Oh,
for you?
I'm not a content creator. I'm just a woman with a phone
I love
and
it.
neurospicy brain. Sometimes I post funny stuff. Sometimes it's cringe, but you can find me on TikTok. I've tagged Jessie in a couple of things. So if you're on Jessie's, you can usually find me in the comments section, either under Mayday or Renaissance. I have 2 accounts.
All right, well, I'll let you go take care of your
Yep.
little one.
All right. Yeah, he wants some attention now. He's been so good this morning. All right,
He's been
Jessie,
so great.
beautiful.
You have a wonderful day. I'll talk to you soon.
You too. Take care. Bye.
Bye.